guys, it's Tech Support here, and welcome to my Cybersecurity and Hacking web series. We're going to be covering everything from viruses to hacking tools, from Tor to Kali, and pretty much everything else you need to know. Alright, so let's get into it. So here are some things to consider, or really frequently asked questions. So why do some sites make me input letters, numbers, a special character, all this stuff in my passwords, other than to just be really annoying and make me not remember any password? What happens if I click on one of those download now links on a sketchy site that say you have 39 viruses unless our special software, you download that to get rid of it? And really, why would hackers want to hack me and my boring data anyways? Like, why am I at risk? What will this kind of site lead me to? Something with an onion extension, and what does the extension really mean? Everyone's talking about VPN nowadays, and what really is one, and why are they important? Can someone like me hack the NSA using HTML? Short answer, unfortunately not. And what is the deal with public Wi-Fi, and why is it so bad to join? So hopefully we'll be covering some of these questions in the series. So let's start with types of hackers, the different groups of hackers that you'll find on the internet. So here's just a little side note, these classifications are sometimes different in different tech communities and or sites, so you might find different definitions in different places, but these are just the most common ones. Alright, so first let's start off with the official definition of a hacker. So a hacker is somebody who programmatically gains access to non-public parts of a computer, a site, or a server by taking advantage of holes in security or bugs in software or self-made applications. And just a note, there's no mention of any illicit purposes, any specific motive, or a hoodie. So let's start off with the classic cybercriminal, the black hat hacker. So this is your Hollywood famous online thief who steals passwords and your user data. There's often a monetary motive attached to their hacks. These are the bad hackers that drain your bank account and blackmail you. They hold your files for ransom, they try to scam you, all that not so good stuff. They're the ones who create malware that infect your computer. These hackers, of course, are punished with prison time if they're caught. And when people say the word hacker, this type of hacker usually comes to mind. However, not all hackers are bad as much as black hat hackers are. So let's go on to the next category, which is the gray hat hacker. They're kind of the risky hackers because these hackers hack systems without permission from a company, but they don't necessarily do anything malicious with their power. They sometimes tell the company about the bug later, but their hacks are really risky because their actions are technically illegal. However, charges are often not pressed because they find really important security holes that these companies need to fix. So sometimes they're hired later as security consultants, but some are charged and go to prison, so it's really not a very safe way of hacking at all. They're in the gray area of hacking because there's often no consensus on really how to deal with this group. And now let's move on to the good hacker, or the white hat hacker. They're also called ethical hackers or security consultants. These hackers are benevolent. They actually get paid by companies and they're given explicit consent to hack the company. They hack the system in order to find security bugs for companies to fix. And because of white hat hackers, products are much safer and less exploitable for the bad black hat hackers. And these hackers often work with anti-hacking tool companies such as providers of antivirus or firewall software, and these hackers are often freelancers but can also be found in groups. White hat hackers can be very well paid, and it's quite a good profession to have because you're hacking and you have all that fun stuff, but you're doing it legally. Alright, so now let's get into the more peripheral hackers, the other ones that most people haven't heard of, not the main three categories. So let's get started with the red hat hacker or the vigilante hacker. So this is the hacktivist or the whistleblower hacker. These people can be found on the news a lot. They often exist in organizations such as Anonymous or LulzSec, there's some famous ones, and they perform mass hacks, often for some sort of vigilante or political reason. They can also be anarchists who just want to bring down governments and enjoy causing chaos. They often try to peddle conspiracies online. They sometimes hack algorithms to make their ideas more popular. Sometimes hackers for government organizations sometimes fall into this category as well. They don't really have a monetary motive. Their hacks are purely political, or they're trying to get some sort of vengeance. Now, this is the blue hat hacker. This is often the disgruntled ex or the angry employee. They're usually not proficient in hacking, but they instead use hacking tools to seek revenge on one specific person or company. Maybe they want to spy on someone they think are cheating, these kinds of scenarios. They can extort money, they can blackmail people, or cause mayhem because they feel wrong. Oftentimes, people who hack scammers or people who hack black hat hackers, they sometimes also fall into this category. Now, their actions are illegal, however, some people do sympathize with their motives, especially if they're hacking the quote unquote bad guys. Their hacks are almost always targeted, however, they can cause extensive damage because oftentimes they don't really know what they're doing. Now, let's get into the green hat hacker, or also known as the newbie hacker. They're sometimes known as script kiddies or pranksters. They often rely on these pre-made scripts and copy hacking tutorials with little knowledge of how it works. They often perform attacks to impress friends or as a joke sometimes. Some are just hackers who are still learning. But see, unfortunately, they can be quite dangerous as they don't always understand the consequences or severity of their hacks. And even if they do not cause damage purposefully, they can face all sorts of unforeseen hacking charges. So some green hats grow into black hat or white hat hackers as they learn, but some just stay pranksters or script kiddies that try to impress their friends. Now let's get into the different types of malware that you can get on your computer. Here's a note. Most malware is a combination of two or more of these categories, especially nowadays. Trojans are extremely common and other forms of malware may be hidden within a Trojan, but these are just the main categories of malware that you may get on your computer. All right, so this is the most famous malware, the virus, right? This is what we usually think of when we think of malware. So a virus is a piece of malware that can replicate itself and infect or delete other files. It can spread across the system quite quickly and to other computers through infected files. However, it does require user input to run on the system. The main goal of a virus is to infect the system and cause damage to important files by either overwriting them or putting some sort of malicious code in here. So, for example, this is the result of some sort of virus, and this is definitely not good. So, now another type of malware is a worm, or the master reproducer. So worms are actually really, really dangerous because it's a standalone program, so they don't need user input or a host file to be activated. So a worm is a piece of malware that's able to reproduce across an infected network, right? And the goal of a worm is to spread really, really quickly and take up a lot of processing power, although they can contain certain payloads as well. Like, for example, this was a really famous worm that happened quite a few years ago. It was the love letter worm, the I love you worm. It spread through email, and this kinds of stuff you never ever respond to or open these emails because who knows, now this is being sent to all your contacts from your email address. Just, it's an awful situation to be in. And now this is the famous Trojan, probably the most common type of malware you can find on the internet, especially nowadays. It's the sexiest malware, so to say. It uses social engineering to spread. It promises legitimate software to a user. However, of course, when the fake software is executed, a payload is released and it can really damage your computer. They generally don't infect other systems or overwrite user files, but they can steal information such as passwords and bank information, so they can really be quite dangerous. For example, this is a famous example of a Trojan. It says something like this: your computer might be infected with adware. No, you will get adware if you interact with this site. Sometimes they have numbers that they want you to call. These are all just scams. Never ever interact with this site. Just close it out. I promise you do not have anything that it's saying you do. Oftentimes it will just give you what they're saying you already have. So never ever ever trust these sites. Now, this is ransomware. It's another type of malware. This is the master criminal. There's a really famous one that circled around, the WannaCry virus. It's quite a serious threat with few solutions but to pay. Often the times I want you to pay in Bitcoin or all sorts of stuff. So ransomware is basically software that encrypts computer files and demands Bitcoin or sometimes even normal currency to release them. It can be spread in various ways, but it usually relies on an already placed backdoor or some sort of security flaw. Sometimes an element of blackmail is also added to the software. Sometimes they threaten to release files or webcam footage. It's really not a good situation. Basically, they just want money and they want you to pay, and they will lock your files. They will do all sorts of stuff. Quite a terrible thing, especially if it's on a large network. Now, this is adware. This is also known as the unstoppable pop-up. So many people have adware, and it's it's more annoying than anything else. It typically attaches to a browser, often in the form of an extension or an add-on. For example, Chrome extensions have been a humongous form of spreading adware. It can change advertisements on websites. This is also called malvertising. It can create excess or unclosable pop-ups, and it can redirect you to other, usually not PG-rated sites. It's usually downloaded by the user. It's generally not spreadable, and they often advertise worse forms of malware, such as Trojans. Like, for example, this is person who has adware, they're just trying to read about aliens, and now they're getting this sort of win $5 million a week forever something. It's not reliable at all. This would probably give you a virus. So this is the stuff that adware does. All right, so this is spyware. It is always watching you, right? It's malware that can record you, it can take screenshots and log your keystrokes without your consent. This is especially dangerous because it can steal your credential information and or blackmail you. They can steal all your passwords. Really not a good situation. They're downloaded by a user and they do not spread, but it can be used with other malware. So for example, this is an email of somebody who was infected with spyware, or at least the person said they were infected with spyware. So then they're trying to blackmail them out of doing all sorts of stuff. At the moment I've harvested a solid dirt on you, right? They do all this sort of stuff. They hack your webcam, they log your keystrokes, they can say, oh, pay me X amount of money or I'll release your internet search history, things like that. It's really not a good situation if you're infected with spyware. It can really, your data is in the hands of someone else, which can cause quite a few problems. But yeah, you don't want spyware. So now this is rootkit. This is the hidden boss, so to say. So a rootkit has the ability to give a piece of software or a remote hacker complete administrative access to a computer. They don't always contain payloads, but they're considered malware because they have elevate privileges, often without consent. They do not spread alone, and they're usually downloaded by a user, right? So this is an example of a rootkit. It's literally hidden in the root of your computer. These types of malware have become actually quite rare nowadays. However, you can still get them. So it has complete administrative access. It can delete your home directory file. It can shut your computer on and off and do all sorts of stuff as like the main admin of your computer. And it's really not good. It has complete full control. So now this is the DOS attack, not to be confused with web-based DOS or DDoS, which affects websites. So a denial of service malware is a system that usurps so much CPU or memory that it literally makes a computer unusable or just crashes your computer. For example, things like fork bombs, zip bombs, XDOS, or banana attacks can literally prevent the user from opening any application or connecting to the internet or opening up Task Manager to close down this thing. DOS malware takes advantage of holes in popular software, so it can often affect many users at once. For example, the "you are an idiot" virus, it's not really a virus, this is an example of it. It just crashes your computer and pretty much makes it unusable, and it's just really, really annoying more than anything else. But yeah. So this is crypto malware. This is actually quite a new form of malware. It's the secret moneymaker, right? So crypto malware actually doesn't want to harm your computer at all, but what it does is it allocates a certain percent of your computer's CPU for Bitcoin mining. It is localized to one computer, but many computers often form a botnet of miners, and basically all they do is make a lot of money for the hacker, and most users don't even know that they have the malware, as they just experience slightly worse performance. So basically they're saying, oh, my computer's a little bit slow, oh, it's not a big problem, but in fact they have this crypto malware, and it's making a hacker quite a bit of money. So this caption here, I should really be getting a cut. Yeah, you're not really getting paid any of the Bitcoin that you've been mining for some other person somewhere. It's basically more of an annoying thing, and it's not very fun to have because it slows down your computer. So now this is the botnet malware. So it snakes onto your computer and lays dormant. It can spread to other computers through a network or infected files. When a signal is given, the infected computers can be damaged all at once, or the botnet can be used to DDoS major servers, causing absolute chaos. So for example, this caption over here, I just shut down 3 sites, I swear it wasn't me. They infect your computer, you can start all of a sudden performing illegal activities from your computer that you had no clue you were doing, and it can really make you sort of a fall person for all sorts of crimes, and it's really not a fun situation to be in. Alright, so this is going to conclude our first episode, and the next episode we're going to focus on attacks. I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thanks!